And tonight's special interview guest is TheNeoAtheist. And we actually have some quick questions. Neo, when you came up with your screen name for TheNeoAtheist, what prefaced you to come up with TheNeoAtheist?
Okay, one of the reasons I came up with TheNeoAtheist is because I'm a huge fan of Samuel Harris, Christopher Hitchens, and Richard Dawkins.
Mm-hmm.
Those three right there were inspirational for me when I actually first came out as an atheist, just reading their books, getting the knowledge basis, and just understanding what atheism is in general. Mm-hmm. So I thought, in respect to what the religious right was trying to do to the militant atheism movement when it first sprung up, I thought I would take that name and make it my own. Basically, give it power and authority, and basically be a tool for the namesake itself.
I don't like to use the word tool because then they try to use the word tool against. I'm sorry, Neil. Go ahead.
You've seen how heated I get in some of my debates.
Yes, I have seen some of those debates, and they get pretty hot and heated. Yes,
exactly. I can be as elegant as Richard Dawkins at times, and I can be as much of a dog with a bone at times if worse comes to worse. Mm-hmm. It's basically just the approach it's a great representation of the approach I take when it comes to debating theists, and it's a persona that reflects who I am, basically.
Okay, cool. I have a quick question here. Were you ever religious, and if you, or how did you come out, or did you come to your non-belief anyway? I
was raised in a religious family, but I was never really religious. As I've said many times before, I'm a high-functioning autistic. I was diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome at the age of 13, mm-hmm. and I've always leaned more towards logic and reason over mysticism. And when I look at religion, that's basically all I see. Okay. That's all I see in religion itself. It's basically nothing more than a magical sky daddy that you want to bless and give you everything you want by just asking for it.
Okay, that's a good reason. I have another quick question here. What's your inspiration for your videos? What's the one video that you think basically says the most about you? And what do you do for your and to another second question on that? What do you do for your video editing?
I use FlexPress for my intros and outros.
Okay.
I use the YouTube editor for my editing jobs. I use a reverse negative for my filming process.
Okay.
And one of the reasons I do it that way is just because it's one of the ways I started out, and it's just sort of...
Does it protect your identity, or...?
To begin with, it was. Now it's just basically part of the persona. It's going back to my grassroots of the persona itself.
Okay.
Not to mention, you see the image I use on my profile. Mm-hmm. This image itself is basically a representation of a reverse negative. I mean, if you look at it and look at one of my videos, you can see the relation and the correspondence that actually goes on between the two of them.
Absolutely, absolutely. How did you get into producing your videos?
That's an interesting story. I was in the military at the time when I started, so
okay.
I was in a really religiously driven company. My company commander was religious. My NCO, IC, was a devout Catholic. Religion was widespread in my life.
Yeah, it's hard not to hit a religious area somewhere, especially here in Wisconsin too, without swinging.
It was actually the heart of Texas, though. Too.
Oh, in Texas, yeah. Oh, I bet.
Yeah, I had to deal with a lot of stuff in Texas, which I had to actually.
Down there, you can swing a chipmunk and not hit it. Much smaller and more.
Yes, very, very true.
Yes. How did you get into making YouTube videos?
It was sort of the evolution of my activism. I wanted to be an outspoken activist. I wanted to be an activist for the secular community, and I thought this would be the best way to go about it.
That's a good idea. What is one of the best videos you've ever seen on another channel on YouTube? I mean, besides Packard Pokes At.
I've got to say that Redline V8 rapping was something that just...
I've seen some of the Redline's videos. He does great work.
Redline's somebody that I consider a brother in arms. When it comes to debating a Christian or a theist, usually I have Redline in my corner, and he's a valuable asset when it comes to debating. That's the best way I can put it. A lot of the shortcomings I have, he sort of makes up the difference for, and vice versa.
Okay, that's cool. What do you do outside of YouTube? I mean, what do you do for like real work? I mean, do you have a job? Do you go to school?
College student. I'm actually a math science major. I'm taking this semester off.
Okay.
I'm going to be working this semester just to get a little bit more of an income in my pocket. Then start back up in the spring or fall of working.
So what are you going to do? You know, deliver pizzas or?
No, because I'm afraid the world's going to stop.
Oh yeah, you don't want to do that.
You want to know something? That's another problem I have if the world stops. I mean, if it stops, there goes the half an hour.
Yeah, you can't get your lunch break on if the world stops. You know, fuck it. You know.
Exactly. I mean, forget the fact that the multi-core is only molted because we have a moving planet. So if the planet stops, the center of the Earth cools, and then that basically is another travesty that would...
Yeah, the end of all life as we know it.
No more magnetic field.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. All right, I'm going to turn the questions over to our other co-host here. Joe, did you have a question for the Neo-Atheist?
Yeah, you mentioned that you were in the military, and I've spoken to some atheists who were in the military, and they've told me stories that were pretty crazy. Like, do you have anything that happened to you specifically? Were you ever, like, ordered to attend a religious service or anything like that?
Actually, I had a friend that was a religious, that was actually a battle buddy when I was in serving in Texas. Ousted me because he was pissed off that he found out I'm an atheist in the middle of a grocery store in the center of Texas, small town. And I basically had 3 death threats during that time.
You know, I was actually having a conversation with the preaching atheist. He said he finally got his first death threat, and it's like he's like, yes. I mean, I've talked to other atheists until we get death threats. We feel like, you know, we haven't really gotten out there and made our mark until they go, I want you dead. It's like, yes, thank you. I mean, how many people out there would go and say, hey, thank you for giving me a death threat. You just validated my arguments.
Yeah, for me, my mindset of the death threats were that you're going to give me a death threat, then fine, I'm jumping on YouTube and we'll play that way.
There you go.
Did you receive death threats from people in your company, or was it people that just happened to be around in the store?
It was people that were around in the store.
Really?
A few were actually
strangers turned around and
weapons and actually showed the weapons at the time. So
they actually held a gun to you?
No. They actually just showed the.
They went, I got my gat right here.
Yeah, that's basically what it was. They didn't pull it out, but they basically just showed it when they actually mentioned
right here. I see that. It's gun. Yeah, it's right there.
It was the longest 3 hours I actually had.
Yeah, that would freak me out a little bit. You know, like, hey, I got a gun. It's like, hey, I got a finger.
That's pretty crazy, because you often hear Christians complaining about being oppressed. They're not allowed to, you know, their religion is being taken away from them, which is nonsense. And these people were like flashing weapons at you because your friend said, "Wait, you're an atheist?"
Yeah.
So that's pretty wild.
That is. That's incredibly wild. Joe, do you have any other questions you wanted to ask for him?
I was checking out some of your videos. I saw that you did a bunch of quote of the day videos. Those were pretty cool.
Yeah, those are nice.
I'm actually going to be restarting those in the next few weeks.
Yeah, you actually started that up because your computer, you were supposed to be on several months ago.
Yeah.
And your computer fried on you, and you started doing those. I mean, we would have loved to have gotten you on much sooner, but, you know, the course of events just kind of threw everything in the kibosh. But what did you do to generate all those interesting quotes?
I am a huge research fanatic. It's one of my... It's where my autism lies.
Mm-hmm.
I do a lot of research. I basically research for fun. So coming across secular...
I meant actually the program you use to get
I use FlexPress. I basically just went into FlexPress, uploaded to YouTube, and then basically went from there.
Okay.
Then I threw in the little intros that was usually a 3-segment process.
Mm-hmm.
Intro, outro, and then the main meat and potatoes of it itself.
All right. I wasn't sure those two were connected. I thought is FlexPress something that's online? Is it something you can download?
It's a website. I'll give you a link to actually include it in the
show notes. Okay.
This video.
All right. Great. Well, we'll look forward to that. Joe, did you have any other questions for Neo?
No. I don't think so.
All right. Very good. Dave, did you have any questions for Neo?
I've got a couple.
Okay.
Shoot.
So Neo, I was watching some of your videos and I saw that you had a series called The Age of Reason, and I wonder, have you read a lot of Thomas Paine, or are you a fan of Thomas Paine? How did you come up with that? Which is
I'm a huge
specific...
fan of Thomas Paine. I have read most of his collected works, and it's a good name for a podcast. I'm actually going to be starting it back up in the next week or so, focusing on civil rights and how voter suppression has been a major tool in the subjugation and basically making a subservient mindset out of people that are of a different following or perspective in life.
Interesting.
Sure.
Or do you have any other questions, Dave?
Yeah, being in the military, what do you think of the quote, "There are no atheists in foxholes"?
Oh, that's a great question.
I think it's complete, utter bullshit. I've met a few atheists when I was in the military. One of my best friends that are actually still serving, that I have online, is still in the military. Mm-hmm. So the fact that there are no atheists in the military is BS. I mean,
well, absolutely.
Atheists are in every community. We exist in every facet of existence. I mean, there's at least one atheist out there in every branch of the military, armed forces, legislation, judicial system. You'll find an atheist if you look hard enough. I mean, anyone that says there's no atheist in foxholes has to have a religious mindset behind that type of ignorance, because that's the only place that I've actually
I'd
seen
rather
that type of ignorance come forth.
Yeah, I'd rather be in a foxhole with an atheist than a religious person anyway, because they're afraid they're going to think they're going to sit there praying, "Oh God, save us!" I'm going to like, "Fuck you! I'm going to get out my gun and I'm going to save us." Fuck you! Let's get this job done. I don't understand why they keep saying that. Because it is complete bullshit, and there's just no validity to it. Did you have any other questions, Dave?
Not really.
Okay.
We're all good.
All right, very good. We're going to take some questions from the chat room.
I've been watching. I don't think anyone has a question. Oh, Dave stole mine, Crystal says.
Oh.
Crystal, you have me on Skype, so if you have a question, all you got to do is message me. But to expand on the questions that you guys have asked yourselves.
Okay, we got one from Michael John Burgess. He says, "What is your views on gays and what's your preference?" Michael's our photo guy. He's actually, well, he's told us anyway. He goes both directions, and he thinks you're real cute. Apparently,
I'm asexual. I actually I only view sexual acts as something that is for reproduction purposes only. That's the only way that I'll actually play with that extracurricular activity, I guess would be the best way to put it.
But that's not the definition of asexual, though.
But you're right. That would be give me a second here. For the most part, though,
asexual would mean that you reproduce primarily
by yourself.
With
He's like, "Hey,
exactly.
I'm the neo-atheist. Oh, here's another one. Here's another one."
If you can do that, that's awesome.
Apparently,
Homo sapiens that basically has it to where an asexual is basically somebody that neither prefers males nor females. I basically just view it as a tool of reproduction, and that's it.
Oh, okay. All right, that's cool. Killbees, she said she may have missed it. She said, "Were you raised in a religious family?" I think you said you were religious.
You did talk about that. Yeah, you were.
Yes, I was raised in a religious family. Just to touch on that, though, I've had a lot of experience with a lot of different denominations in the religious background. My family went to Salvationist Church. I went to a Presbyterian church for a while there. There's Pentecostal back there. There's Catholic.
Oh, yeah, Pentecostal. I was in Pentecostal. I understand that one.
Yeah, I actually was attending in Assemblies of God for a few years.
I'm not familiar with those, but the ones I'm more familiar with the ones around here. So.
Michael wants to know what your family thinks of you being an atheist.
Yeah, that's a good question.
That's an interesting question. I came out to my mother before she passed 2.5 years ago. It'll be 3 years as of next month. But I came out to my mother 7-8 years ago. Mm-hmm. She was the only one that knew for the longest time. When she passed, I came out to the rest of my family. Since then, I've lost a I now no longer exist to a few of my uncles.
Yeah.
I actually have an uncle that is the leader of the Tea Party movement in Elmira, New York.
boy.
So
Really?
having a tea banger in my family was something.
Now that's a real disgrace.
Yeah, he would say the same thing about me being an outspoken activist for the
Yeah.
secular community.
Right. Well, I would say, the fact that he's a teabagger, you just got to remind him, hey, look up teabagger,
See, for me, I think that tea parties are something that should be left to little girls, but that's just me. Or little boys.
Let's put him in the tea, players of tea, yeah. I never thought, I can't drink tea now because of those putzes.
I mean, honestly, he's somebody that actually attended Glenn Beck's Million Man March in Washington. That's how much of a teabagger he is.
Oh, good grief.
He's one of those guys.
Oh, good grief. All right. Do you have any other quick questions from the chat room here?
Yes, I am a sexy beast. Thank you, Michael, for saying that. Crystal agrees with you, don't worry.
So, Neo, the incident in the supermarket, was that the only weird thing that happened to you in the military? There was never anything like that?
No. I've had meetings with chaplains that have...
A chaplain pulled a gat on you?
No.
I'm going to take out my electric cross.
No.
So what do you think about this whole thing, this whole movement now where they're voting upon chaplains who are secular being added into the military?
I think that it's something that should have been done years ago. I think that...
Right,
I
because
honestly
there are more
think that-
secular people than there are Hindus.
Exactly. I think recognizing any religion from a military perspective violates separation of church and state.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I agree with you there.
I was totally leading you in that, but I agree.
Yeah, I basically think that it's about time, and that we're still recognizing religions in the military.
Mhm.
I mean, you have assigned details that are, let's go with post-cleanup day.
Right.
You have it to where you're assigned to clean up a certain area. You could be assigned to clean up the area of a church.
All right.
Speaking up and saying that you won't do it because you're of a secular view or perspective basically is grounds for an Article 15. Or being...
What exactly is an Article 15 for the people who are listening who have no clue
That's
what that is?
basically something covered under the uniform... Oh, man, I hate UCMJ. Uniform code...
It means you're in
Judicial-
trouble, right?
Is some kind of form of trouble.
It's some form of judicial law punishment under the military itself.
Okay, Michael Burgess wanted to know, what did you mean by secular?
Meaning was just typed in. Secular...
Yeah, he said, Walker, Connie got in there, she said objective secular, the Latin secularist mean worldly or temporal.
Yes.
So, okay, so maybe
Worldly or temporal would be
maybe he just didn't understand the exact definition. So
Not a problem, Crystal. I'm glad to be of service.
Yeah.
Any way, shape, and or form.
Yeah, I myself, I stayed out of the military. A friend of mine, a good friend of mine, tried to get me in the military when he went in. And I was like, no, I enjoy breathing, and I have no love for the government in that respect. So I was like, because I've seen what the military has done to my other brothers, and I'm like, no, I want to come up with my brains intact. I mean,
Not to
not to say that you didn't. I'm not saying that you didn't.
Not to
I mean,
put myself on a pedestal, though, but
Yeah.
I mean, given the perspective that and the conversations we had, believe me, there's issues I have with my time in service, but it's helped make me the person I am today.
oh yeah,
It's
absolutely.
helped me
I'm not
It's
saying
helped
that.
give me the confidence to be as outspoken as I actually am.
Right. No, I'm just saying that the military for me would not have worked.
I was a high-functioning autistic that basically had to deal with socialistic, a socialistic demanding job for 6 years.
Right.
You think it was comfortable for me?
Oh yeah, I can imagine. I mean, I'm just saying that for me, the military would
I completely agree. That's what I'm trying to say.
right. But but I mean for me, the military would have been a bad idea. But for overall, the military, for some people, it works out well for them. I mean, it worked out well for you, and I'm glad it did. I'm
Gave me
just
free
saying,
college. That's basically the only thing I use.
yeah, and that's exactly what a lot of people actually use it for. So for that reason, we had another question here. My daughter would like to ask you a question. Go ahead.
I've had this question asked to me, and it's sort of a weird question. It was asked to me by one of my religious friends. They asked me if God revealed himself to me, how would I react and what would I do? And I'm asking you this question to see how...
How would you respond to this answer so she can use, something similar to it?
I've already responded to this.
You respond, Neil, and then we'll see what she said.
Yeah, we want to know what he says.
Yeah. Okay, here we go.
My answer to God revealing himself to me, for one, I have a problem with an individual out there existing that doesn't have a corporeal form being the thing that spoke us into existence. Not to mention, if you're an all-powerful, all-knowing, all-present being, how's the Bible so cryptic? And if that's your only way to communicate with man, how's that going to actually... It's basically able to be used and spin in any direction that you want it to actually be used in.
All right.
So if you're going to use a book that's so open to interpretation as your only way to communicate with a being you love so much, then hey, you must know what it takes to make me believe in you, and if the Bible's the best you can do, I'm sorry, but have a nice day.
Yeah, exactly. What did you tell this guy?
It was actually a girl. But,
a girl.
What I told them was, first I would check and see my last drink and see if there was anything slipped in there and see if I was hallucinating. Then second off, I would smack God upside the head with the Bible and say, what the hell were you thinking writing this? It does not make any sense. There are so many contradictions. And
so basically the same answer I gave.
Explain why now and why not have you done this before and revealed yourself to people, so at least now we would know that you actually exist.
Yeah, that's great.
I'm glad to see somebody in Packard's family has some sense.
That's how I respond.
I still got a problem with his child labor laws.
Hey, I give her free room and board. We got a little trade off there.
You want to know something that only works in China?
Oh well, I'm not saying where my present location is, but.
I understand. You don't want child labor laws coming in and basically just.
Well, that's if I paid her, but I don't. So it's all free. We have any last questions from the chat room at all? Well, Crystal said, and I hear that in support groups. She talked to somebody else. But she makes an excellent point that some support groups it tears many people apart, families apart, and I completely agree with that because I've had experience with this myself. That I have nephews and nieces that they go, oh well, you don't believe in God, well I'm just not going to talk to you anymore, and you've experienced a lot of that, and you said in your own family as well, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's really sad. I'm going to see if we have any more questions from the chat room.
See, but what's more sad though is just the fact that you can actually find that a lot in the secular community. Just atheists or agnostics that are outspoken that exist. There's usually some form of religious oppression that exists within a family setting. Right. Which, pardon me, but if somebody is truly a family member and if you care about that person so much, why the heck would you actually care whether they're an atheist or not? I mean, the fact that they still exist is something that basically should be the underlining thing that plays the precedent, but it doesn't.
You know, what's interesting is that it's more often that's not the atheist turning away from the religious person in the family. It's usually the religious person saying, hey, I'm going to shut you out of my life. And, I think that's the more dick move to make overall.
Packard.
Yeah.
Michael asked, what does Neo think of the war in Afghanistan?
Oh, I didn't see that question. Yeah, Neo, what do you think about the war in Afghanistan?
I served in Afghanistan. I have seen the people. I have seen the individuals that exist in Afghanistan, and I think that it's a representation of a war-torn country that's been at war with itself and that has 6 different factions that exist within its country that basically have been warring for over 2,000 years. Yeah. It's a clear representation. I mean, just the languages that exist over there. Don't get me wrong, I despise religion with a passion. But when we think of the war in Afghanistan, we don't think about the civilians that exist within that war zone. That's not the reason we went over there, but that's one of the reasons that we have stayed for so long. I mean, if we just up and leave...
Do you think the Taliban would step back in? Do you think the Taliban would just step back in and go, hey, we're back, bitches?
If it wasn't the Taliban, it'd be another faction. It would be Al-Qaeda. It would be somebody in some way, shape, and or form. That place has been at war with itself for over 2,000 years.
Yeah,
in some areas of it, even longer. I mean, it's pretty close to...
Yeah, when they first attacked over there, they said, we're going to bomb back to the Stone Age. It's like they were pretty much living in the Stone Age over there.
It's a third world country. I mean, think about it. I mean, from a...
Bombing them would bring them up into civilization because it's like, hey, upgrade,
Yeah, but you have the hygiene issues over there where...
Oh, yeah.
Most people over there don't use toiletries. They basically just wash with plain water. They wipe with their right bare hand. And just the idea that people like that were fixing my food and a few other issues, that it gives you a new perspective on the civilization over there that exists. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's a reason I haven't become outspoken against the Middle Eastern belief systems. It's because I basically have sympathy. I feel pity for the people that are actually stuck in that situation.
Right.
There's people that are females are a great example of what happens when the suppression of feminine rights over there is It's an atrocity. It's a crime against humanity. I mean, walking around in 125, 150 degree weather and having to wear 3 or 4 layers at one time is, for one, it's unbearable.
Oh yeah, I'd imagine so.
Being in that heat, being in that weather itself was basically just... It's one of the hottest places I've ever had to be, and I do not want to go back anytime soon.
Yeah, I'd imagine not. One last question before we get going. Are you still contractually obligated to, let's say, if the military says, "Hey, Neo, we need you, buddy"?
No. I actually, first time I'm actually saying live setting what my background story of me getting out was. But I actually became completely open with my high-functioning autism. It's not something you're supposed to enlist in the military with.
Ah.
I brought that up and basically had to call in so many contacts. It's ridiculous to actually get an honorable discharge because of they tried to discharge me under fraudulent enlistment, which I wasn't going to have. So,
okay.
Being a human resource specialist, I built up a few contacts and the higher chain of command in Fort Hood. So I was actually at to add a little information to the religious background of Fort Hood, though, before we end. I was actually at Fort Hood when the shooting happened back in 2009.
All right. That must have been fucking scary as hell.
I was right down the street from it. I was less than a mile from where the shooting actually occurred.
Wow. That's terrible. I mean, I would have been shitting a brick because, like, shit, the bullets are flying around. I lived in Madison, our state capital, and I didn't live at the capital. I lived in the city, and it was a fairly high crime neighborhood. We had bullets flying around occasionally out there too. And the fact that you're actually in that military situation, you have no. I have a small frame of reference of what you had to go through there, but not.
Yeah, but the fact that one of our own actually, went up against us, and that he hasn't been tried yet, it's the biggest atrocity in it. I mean, that he's basically sitting there in a hospital, still collecting a.
Is he still in the hospital? I thought maybe he was stuck in prison now because.
No. He hasn't actually been imprisoned yet. He's still collecting a salary and.
Or I thought they should cut that off. If you attack your own, you get
They can't cut it the salary until judicial.
What is holding the wheels up? Do you have any ideas?
I basically have been trying to keep track of that for the last 4 years. It's a long situation. It's basically. I'm still pissed that he hasn't been tried yet. That's basically the best way I can put it.
Yeah, I would be too. All right. Well, I'm afraid we have to get going here because we're starting to run a little long here. And my editing is going to take forever. But anyway.
Once you get this down to an hour so I can upload it on my page, I'll be happy.
Well, yeah, that's not going to happen. Anyway, well, thank you, Neil, for joining us here tonight.
Been a pleasure, Pack.
Brenda, appreciated that you stuck it out and try to get it, be able to get on the show here with us.